A man is drawing his children Ricky and Lily when his wife reminds him of the time and the whole family leaves. At the same time, another man is chopping wood outside the farmhouse, making excuses to his son Henry that he is still coping with the labor, and then reminds his wife of dinner time, and the woman quietly puts aside her book and heads for the kitchen. Meanwhile, the Ross family watches a movie in the theater and embrace, not noticing the enthusiastic looks of a young couple sitting in the back row. On the way out, the couple stops the family. Can't believe they see David Ross, he's just like the real thing. It's so unusual to see him here when everyone knows he's actually in space. David answers questions and leaves, saying it's time for them to go. Meanwhile, the other man, Cliff, is saying a prayer before dinner and watching his wife and son begin to eat. The Ross family, meanwhile, arrives home and David's wife notices a small van parked behind the house, but her daughter calls out to her. The woman goes into the house, oblivious to the unfamiliar vehicle. David tucks the children in, kisses them, and wishing them sweet dreams, goes to wife, who is waiting for him with a glass of wine in her hand. They dance and caress each other, until the man is suddenly distracted by the call of the clock. He gives his wife one last kiss and goes to a private room. Cliff gets the call too, and he coldly bids his wife farewell, walking to the next room, where he lies down in a high-tech chair and dials a code number on the display. David does the same, and seconds later both men wake up on the space station. They meet in the control room and discover that the call came in for a minor malfunction outside the station, and Cliff, donning a spacesuit, heads off into outer space while David follows him on the monitors. Having completed the repairs, Cliff returns to the station. David strikes up a conversation about his new home. His partner likes the fact that it is located far away from the city, where real nature remains and there is a river with fish. True Henry and his wife do not particularly like the privacy, but they will get used to it. The astronauts wish each other a productive week and go to their workplaces, and later activate their code cards and go to the bodies of their doppelgangers on Earth. Cliff goes to his wife's bedroom and she asks for permission to have a party, as she has been home all the time since they arrived. But the husband is very cold to this decision and immediately goes to bed, turning away from his wife. At this time, David wakes up and hears sounds in the living room of his house and, armed with a bat, goes down to the first floor, where 4 people dressed as hippies are waiting for him. David orders them to leave, but the leader of the group orders to grab the robot man. They are interested to know what is in this body and where his soul really is. The man is grabbed and the ringleader takes a knife and cuts off David's arm. He is disappointed not to see any blood inside. It really is made of incomprehensible stuff, and ordering the underling to bring David's family here, he disables him with a blow to the head with a screwdriver. The astronaut regains consciousness and immediately reactivates the map to see his family being bullied. The wife proves they are real by showing off a cut on her palm, but the thugs don't question it. He blames the woman who allowed her to live in a house with a robot and sleep in bed with him and orders them all killed. Bound, David tries to free himself from the rope, but nothing comes out and the man has to watch his family die. Finally, the bandits burn the astronaut's artificial body, depriving him of the ability to return to Earth. Meanwhile, a call goes out at Cliff's house, where the man is informed of what has happened, and he urgently returns to the station, where he sees David in a terrible state. The partner tries to somehow alleviate the man's suffering, but the man does not want to talk about his grief. Cliff returns home, where Lana reads the terrible news of the murder of the astronaut's family. Her husband tells her that the Mission Control Center ordered David to be left alone. The killers themselves surrendered to the police and now their family is promised protection. The woman is upset by the tragedy because she knew David's wife and children and sympathizes with him, and Cliff worries that now it is impossible to make a new copy of the body, which means that David is locked up on the station for another 4 years until the end of the mission. Time passes. The astronauts continue to go about their business, and one day Cliff, arriving on Earth, reads a newspaper report about the Ross family funeral while David watches the ceremony on a monitor and then has dinner alone. Cliff and his son are on land, going fishing, but then a call comes in on his device and he rushes to run to the house. The system shows problems with the airlock, and Cliff goes straight through to it and sees David locked inside. The man demands to be let in, and when the lock opens, David says it was a simple check. Later, Cliff tells Lana about everything and reminds her that if there is a malfunction and the station ends, he will die too. Lana then offers to let David use his body so that he can visit the ground and recover a bit. Back at the station, Cliff brings it up and sees how eager his partner looks at him. Later, Cliff talks to his wife about the manner of his colleague, advising him to just let the man breathe, and heads off to the communicator. So David lies down in his partner's bed and goes into his doppelganger's body. Waking up on the ground, he explores his new body and goes outside, where Lana is already waiting for him. The woman leads him into the forest, showing him her favorite spot by a large tree. And there David, seeing a caterpillar, suddenly starts crying, remembering his family. Lana does not know how to react to such manifestations of feelings and hugs the man, trying to comfort. When the couple returns to the house, David praises the structure without noticing Henry watching them. Meanwhile, Cliff can't find his place, worried about how his partner's reunion with his family will go. But David returns to the station and thanks the astronaut for giving him the opportunity to be on Earth. Now already Cliff hurries home, and David takes his sketchbook and begins to draw what he saw. Lana is glad that his coworker is relieved and tells him about David's tears, and he is surprised at such an open display of feelings. Some time passes, and one day David shows his partner a drawing of his house. Cliff is delighted with the drawing. He would love to hang it in his living room. David is willing to draw a real picture if his friend will let him visit downstairs from time to time. Cliff promises to think about it later. The couple consults, and although Lana doesn't really like the idea, she's willing to let David forget a little about the tragedy with a favorite activity. David, in Cliff's body, stays the next day and is delighted to find everything he needs to create in the barn. Noticing a book in Lana's hands, he talks about literature and the woman is delighted to have his attention. Cliff doesn't talk to her often, and when music starts playing from the barn, she stops and listens to David's favorite record with pleasure. As time goes on, the men take turns on the land. David draws and often talks to Lana. One day he offers her to paint, and when the woman picks up a brush, he gives her a little hug, but then her son calls out to her, and Alana leaves. Later, Cliff praises the painting while David is aboard the station doing a pencil drawing of Lana. Returning once more to Earth, David discovers that the paint thinner oil has run out, and the pair drive to the nearest town. There, the man takes the woman into a bookstore and advises her to buy one of the books. The saleswoman recognizes him and asks about the condition of poor David, who has lost his family. A somber David leads Lana away from the store, and she sits down in her car and puts her hand on his shoulder, trying to show her complicity. Later, David returns to the station and draws Lana again, while her husband again turns away from her in bed. The next day, David shows Lana the nearly finished painting, and the woman is thrilled to see that he has depicted her figure on the porch. The man sets the record straight and asks her to dance. They dance, and he embraces her. Realizing what may follow, the woman leaves, not noticing that Henry is watching them. David catches up with her at the house. He sympathizes with her loneliness, as her husband is cold to her and not worth it. Cliff needs to know about everything that is happening on Earth, and he sees her looking at him. But Lana replies that she is looking at her husband, not David. The astronaut returns to the barn and sees Henry's defaced painting. Later, Lana sees her son running and learns that David hit him and chases the man away. Back home, Cliff listens to the story but doesn't understand his wife's outrage. The boy ruined the painting and deserves to be punished. He asks Lana to let David finish the painting, after which he will no longer let his colleague into his house and his wife has to agree. David, returning to his partner's house, tries to ask his wife for forgiveness, but the woman takes her son and leaves for the city, leaving the man alone, and David takes up painting. Meanwhile, Cliff, who remains at the station, notices his partner's sketchbooks, begins to look through them and finds many sketches of a naked Lana and remembers David saying that he always draws from memory. David's call signal goes off and he rushes upstairs. An angry Cliff shows him the drawings, but he doesn't understand his claims, as they are just drawings. Cliff throws himself into the fight. It is his wife and belongs only to him. David asks to understand him because he has lost everything he had. The friend has everything, but his wife is lonely because Cliff doesn't pay any attention to her. He doesn't appreciate or love her. Meanwhile, Lana and Henry return home, where Cliff is waiting for them. He destroys the painting in a rage and then accuses his wife of cheating on him. Lana justifies herself, because there was nothing between them and she was against the idea. But her husband did what he wanted and she is really lonely here, because her husband decided that the double was not him and stopped giving her any attention. So when David hugged her, it seemed to her that her husband came back, but it is not so. Only then Cliff realizes that he was wrong and hugs his wife, asking for her forgiveness. Back aboard the station, he is confronted by David, who asks for permission to visit Earth one last time and personally apologize to Lana, but Cliff forbids it, reminding her that she is only his. The next day, David shaves off his beard and sends a signal to Cliff. The man arrives at the station and, having learned about the damage outside, goes into outer space. But when he gets to the place of the supposed accident, he sees that there is no damage. He returns to the airlock, but it won't open. Cliff knocks on the door when it finally opens, and seeing David with his key in his hands, he realizes that something terrible has happened. Cliff rushes to the ground. Waking up in the chair, he sees his bloody hands. He runs through the house, shouting them out to his wife and seeing terrible marks on the walls. Going downstairs, he finds a pool of blood in the living room. Falling to the floor, the man screams with grief and horror. Time later, he returns to the station and sees David, who offers him a chair opposite himself, and the station flies on. A grim story of the development of space and what consequences could have happened. Write in the comments what you think about it.